Hello everyone, welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host Paula Taylor and this is episode 148. So I promised that we were going to talk about this topic like a while ago when we first started talking about embodiment, and then we kind of got distracted, as sometimes happens. Some other things came up. I took some time off. So today we're going to talk about embodiment and physical health. So just a quick reminder, what is embodiment? What am I talking about? We did a whole show where we talked about that. You can go back and listen to that in depth. But essentially, embodiment, my definition of embodiment is, are you physically present in your body? Yes, we have to be physically present in your body. Are you emotionally present in your body? A lot of us are not. Are you energetically present in your body? And energetically and emotionally are very linked. So if you're emotionally present in your body, you're probably energetically present in your body. And we talked a lot about that. We've talked about how embodiment impacts different aspects of our life. Last week we talked about embodiment and empowerment. So I wanted to get back to this topic of embodiment and physical health. And the first thing I want to say maybe seems kind of obvious, but sometimes just because something's obvious doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't mean it's simple. So if you are not embodied, if you are not present and aware, if you are not connected to, emotionally and energetically present within your physical body, it's really hard to know if you're physically healthy because you're not connected to your body. And again, that sounds kind of obvious, but it's not a simple There's not a simple reason of why we get disembodied. Let's talk a little bit about that. We're rehashing some things here, but I think it makes sense before we kind of get fully into the topic to tie some of this stuff in. So what are the things that disembody us? Let's talk about that, because all of these things directly impact physical health. There's lots of reasons why we get disembodied. One of the obvious reasons we get disembodied is trauma. We talk about that all the time on the show. And here's the thing, there are so many facets of trauma, and it's interesting to me, people are finally talking about trauma. They're finally talking about just how much mental and emotional trauma affects the physical body, along with things like physical and sexual trauma, how all of these things are related. But trauma is not just what happened to you in this lifetime. There is generational trauma, ancestral trauma, things that are passed down. We now know that actually is carried in our bodies. So that affects our physical health. And then, of course, we've got family of origin trauma, so the things that happened to you growing up. But we've also got cultural trauma. I think most of us are victims of cultural trauma, especially if you are a person of color, a minority, if you are a woman, if you are non-binary, trans, if you are gay, any of these things, if you are neurodivergent, all of these things. So we have set these very rigorous, kind of rigid boxes, these ideas of how we should be as a society. You know, are you male or are you female? You should be a productive member of society. You should have a job. You should consume. There's all these things that we, in our kind of patriarchal capitalist society, have decided are quote unquote normal. If you fall outside of those norms in any way, which probably almost all of us do, you are dealing with some cultural trauma. So what happens energetically is that when we encounter trauma, we dissociate from our bodies. We leave our bodies. And this is a protective thing. And I wanted to mention something that's a little bit different from what I usually talk about, but is very tied into this. Another form of trauma is dealing with chronic illness, and especially chronic pain. These are things that will remove you from your body. And sometimes in those cases, it's actually almost a conscious decision. I had terrible endometriosis for years, and there were days when I felt like I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain. I would be doubled over in pain. I had no energy, and yet I felt like I had to keep on going because of these societal norms. I had to go to work. I had to win money. I had to succeed in our capitalist society. And so the way that I did that was by disengaging from my belly, because there was so much pain in my belly that I could, if I was present in that pain, I would not have been able to function. So I think there are a lot of us walking around disembodied, disconnected from our bodies because of things like pain and chronic illness and physical illness as well as mental illness. So there are a lot of ways that we get disembodied. And how does this affect our physical health? Again, how do you know how your body feels if you are not present in your body? And I wanted to kind of play a little bit of a game where I asked you some questions about that. But before we get into that, I want to introduce or reintroduce this term interoception. We talked about this several weeks ago, and I said I was going to go into more depth in this show, and that's what I'm going to do. So I was looking at some definitions of the word itself right before I got on the video here. And essentially interoception is how well you are aware of what is going on inside your body. And it tends to be used as a physiological term, a physical term. But it is also linked to emotions because emotions create physiological responses in the body. If I am anxious, I might feel like my heart is pounding and I might feel a lot of kind of shortness of breath. So, sometimes people hyperventilate when they're anxious, or if I'm angry, I might feel this rush of heat come up my body. So in interoception, the word itself is talking about how well you are aware of what's going on inside your body physiologically, but we can't really separate that from emotionally because emotions have physiological responses. Emotions are stored in the body. So essentially, my definition of interoception is, are you aware of what's going on inside your body? And are you present for that? Are you able to be present for that? Are you connected to your body in a way where you know what is going on inside your body? So I wanted to ask a few questions, and there's layers to this. There are people who have absolutely no interoception. We'll talk a little bit about that, all the way down to people who could tell you, like on a cellular level, oh, I think my gallbladder is not functioning very well today. So there's there's sort of layers of awareness there. So if I asked you, for example, how does your head feel? I feel like that's a fairly easy one because we spend so much time in our headspace, and that's something I kind of glossed over this and skipped ahead. I was talking about the things that disembody us. Our entire society is built to disembody us because everything we do is mental. Most of us don't have physical jobs where we're moving our bodies, where we have to be aware of our bodies. We're sitting at a computer, we're looking at a screen, we're on our phones, and all of that is kind of pulling our energy out of the body and up into the head space. So most of us, even if you don't have a background of trauma, which I think most of us do, but let's say you don't, just the nature of our society kind of pulls you up out of the body. So if I ask you how your head feels, you might actually have a pretty good answer because chances are your energy's kind of in and around your head somewhere. So if I ask you, how does your head feel? You might give me, there's lots of different answers you could say, but you might say, oh, it feels fine. That always makes me laugh. My therapist used to say, fine is not a feeling. So, something like okay or fine. Usually underneath that, there's some nuance. And that's one of the things, developing interoception takes time. This is something I've been working on for years, and especially the last probably like 6 months to a year. And I'm getting better at it. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But it takes time. So when somebody asks you, like if I say, how does your head feel? And you're like, oh, it's okay. That's not really an answer. That's not really, okay is not a physiological state. Homeostasis, balance, maybe that would be so if your first response when I ask you, like, how does this part of your body feel? If it's to say, I don't know, that's great because that gives you some feedback. Oh, maybe my interoception around this area needs a little bit of work. But same thing if your response is like, oh, it's fine, it's good, it's okay. Like none of those things are nuanced enough to really answer the question that I'm asking. So if I say, how does your head feel? So like if somebody asks me right now, I've had a headache on and off for like a month. So this is an interesting area for me. And that's another thing. If something's calling for your attention, chances are you might have more interoceptive awareness than a part of your body that is not calling for your attention. So in other words, if you're in pain, you're going to maybe be able to answer that a little bit more in depth than if you're not. But even if you're not, there's something under the surface. Like I don't have an active headache right now, but if I feel into my head, I notice that things don't feel quite right at the temples. Things feel a little bit tight. I have a sense of tightness in my temples. I have a little bit of a sense of discomfort. I would put, it's not exactly pain. I've got in the back of my neck, I've got this sense of tightness that's really been bothering me the last few days. So beyond that though, even I'm answering questions about the outside of my head, and interoception is about the inner feeling inside your body. So like if somebody said to me, how does your head feel? How does it feel inside your head? How does it feel in your brain? Like that's a weird question to think about. It's not terminology that we usually think about. So like if I was to say, how do I feel inside my brain, inside my head? Again, it's interesting. I get a little bit of a sense of kind of this like tightness and this edge of discomfort. Like things aren't quite settled and relaxed. And this is one of the reasons I love doing body work, is because right away I can tell for myself something like craniosacral would really help me kind of unwind some of this tension. I'm feeling tension, not just in the muscles of my head, but kind of even inside my head. Everything feels a little bit tight, like I need to relax. So that might be a relatively easy question. We're gonna progress to a little bit more levels of difficulty here, just to kind of for a demonstration of how complex this is, this idea of interoception, and how we don't really think about it a lot of times. So I asked you about your head. How does your knee feel? I'm going to ask you that. Your left knee. We'll pick a knee even. How does your left knee feel? And the first thing that might happen, like I touched my knee when I said that. The first thing that might happen is you might realize, like, I don't have any awareness of my knees. Like I have awareness of my head because I've been all day long answering emails and, in this mental space. So the very first thing that happened to me when I said, how does your knee feel? I actually had to put my hand on my knee. Oh, I don't know. How does my knee feel? And that's a great way. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Body work and just touch in general is a great way to bring some embodiment, bring your awareness back into the body so that you can answer that question. So like I'm thinking, okay, how does my left knee feel? And I'm thinking kind of inside my knee, because we've already talked about that. Like I'm not just going to say, oh, it feels all right. It's not in pain, so it's okay. Like that's, again, we want to get deeper than that with this answer. So how does my knee feel? My left knee. And inside my left knee, I notice it feels a little inflamed. It feels like maybe there's a little bit of kind of swelling or irritation actually behind my kneecap if I sort of feel into my body. And again, I've actually got my hand on my knee, and that's completely fine. That will help you bring awareness to your body. So I've got my hand on my left knee and I'm just feeling into, like, what does it feel like inside my left knee? It feels a little bit inflamed. It feels a little bit unhappy. It feels nice and balanced. And like, that's the other thing. You don't have to just notice the discomfort or the bad things. Like my knee feels like it's pretty well in balance. Like energetically, it feels like there's a pretty good flow there. It just feels like the front part of my knee, that patella, my kneecap, feels just a little bit inflamed. Like there's some inflammation behind it and it's kind of irritating the back of that. And see, that's a pretty detailed answer, and that's really what we're looking for. And if you think about doing this through every single part of your body, that would be a great practice, but it would be a lengthy practice because we just spent a good probably 5 or 6 minutes. How does my head feel? How does my knee feel? Answering those two questions. So last question, and this is going to be, I'm purposely making these harder. How does your pancreas feel? And your first thought might be like, where is my pancreas? I don't know. And that's actually a really good point. So part of developing interoception is having an understanding of your body, of the anatomy of your body. Where is everything in my body? And you don't have to have an in-depth knowledge of this, but even just going into Google and pulling up a basic kind of map of your internal organs, first of all, like, where is my pancreas? That might be your first response when I say, how does your pancreas feel? Like, I don't know, where is it? Is it like here? Is it here? Where is it at? So your pancreas is kind of right below your rib cage in the middle, a little bit to the, sort of from the middle to the right. It's pretty small, but right around in this area. And like your next question might be, well, what does my pancreas do? So again, having some basic understanding of anatomy and physiology, your pancreas is what produces insulin, and that is what allows you to eat sugar. The insulin counteracts the sugar and kind of keeps things balanced in your body. And that's why people who have diabetes, they either have type 1 diabetes, they're born and their pancreas doesn't quite work right and they have to supplement with insulin, or type 2 diabetes is more acquired. Something happened over time, your body developed a resistance to insulin, whatever, and it's not working as well. So your pancreas is a really important organ, but most of us, like if I said, how does your pancreas feel? I would get from most people, I think, like a really blank look. I don't know what you're talking about. But then I know some people who do this work who right away would be like, oh, let me feel into that. Let me find it in my body. And that's what I'm talking about. This is a practice we can develop of actually, so if you kind of bring your awareness down inside your belly, again, I put my hand right there. That's a great way to start because you're directing your awareness. Touch directs your awareness to whatever's being felt. That's just a nerve response, right? I feel my hand in these different places. So if I put my hand right here where I know my pancreas is, kind of what we call the epigastric region, just below the rib cage, kind of in the center, maybe a little bit to the right of center. And then I just ask, and this is where this becomes kind of intuitive work. We talk about this all the time. I tell you when we're in our guided healing sessions or meditations, just ask. Ask for information, ask for a response, and your body will answer you if you're listening. So like if I kind of direct my attention and I say, how does my pancreas feel? Again, this is kind of an intuitive thing at this point. I'm trying to get the sense inside my body of what this feels like, but I can't, it's not like I can put my hand on my knee and feel it. It's more, there's some intuitive aspect to this. So I say, how does my pancreas feel? And I kind of feel in there. And I asked this before we started, so I'm laughing because I know it already said it's feeling a little overtaxed. It's feeling like it's working a little bit harder than it needs to. And maybe that is, there are some lifestyle things going on there, like, but we're not doing this with judgment. We're doing this as a practice of being more aware, because the more aware we are of all the little inside parts of our body, the more opportunity we have to give those parts some love. And that's kind of where we're going in today's meditation. I jumped ahead of myself a little bit, but I wanted to kind of give an example of this whole idea because again, sometimes this work seems sort of abstract, or it's like, why does it matter? Why do I need to know this? Why is this important? So what I wanted to talk about is something that I think everyone can relate to is this idea of hunger and fullness. And beyond that a little bit, I'm going to go into eating disorders a little bit because I have a background in studying eating disorders. I also had an eating disorder for like 30 years or so. So I know a lot about how this works and also how it's treated somatically, like in the body. So when we're born, we have this innate sense of when we're hungry and when we're full. There's hormone responses, and as babies, we cry when we're hungry, and hopefully somebody feeds us, or sometimes we're trying to figure out what's going on, and then we stop eating when we're full. And for most of us through childhood, that is something that is fairly innate. And then there are things that start to interfere with that. There's that cultural programming that's also kind of family trauma of like when I was a kid, you need to belong to the clean plate club. You need to eat all your food, right? You need to eat your vegetables before you get your dessert. All of these sort of like programming things that come in that start telling you to ignore the signals in your body. Oh, well, I thought I was hungry, but my mom told me I shouldn't have a snack now because I just had a snack an hour ago. So when you go through this, I've been doing this intuitive eating for a few years now, we completely lose connection with that interoception of hunger and fullness because of all of this programming we receive. Maybe you work in a really busy job and you don't have time to eat, so you just ignore your hunger. And that's kind of what happens a lot of times with eating disorders. So that adding another layer of complexity there, especially around hunger and fullness, is this messaging that your body's supposed to look a certain way. And so for a lot of us, when I started discovering this idea of interoception for myself, and I mentioned this on the show, I think, I realized that I was really envisioning my body from the outside in. I was objectifying my own body. I was looking at my body as though it belonged to someone else. And part of that is because I work with other bodies all the time. So I have a body on my table. It's not my body. I work with that body. So when I would work with my own body, I would kind of work with my own body as though I was working with a stranger's body. But then this idea of interoception kind of came into my mind, or into my awareness, and it was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to like work on my, pancreas from the outside. Like I can actually send my awareness inside my own body and like find my pancreas and give it some love and cradle it just like I might, cradle my neck because it feels tense. Maybe my pancreas, maybe there's some kind of fascial tightening around there. There's some things going on around that. I've got all the scar tissue in my belly from my surgeries and stuff. Like maybe my pancreas is actually kind of bound up physically. And if I can get in my body and find it and feel it, I can invite some relaxation, some release there. So in something like eating disorder, or just, I think a lot of us practice disordered eating without recognizing, that we are going all the way down the road of having a full eating disorder. But like anytime your body is hungry and you don't give it food, that's a little bit of disordered eating. Like your body's asking for food, it's hungry. You're not giving it food for whatever reason. Same thing with, and this is really hard for a lot of us, I still struggle with fullness. How do I know when I'm full? How do I know if I've eaten enough but not too much? And again, there's hormone responses. Your physical stomach has there's interoception in your stomach. There's kind of like receptors in your stomach that tell you, that it's getting stretched and that you've eaten and that you feel satisfied. But then sometimes you think you were satisfied and then like 30 minutes later, it's like, oh, I think I ate too much. All of that kind of stuff, that is all interoception. Knowing when you're hungry or thirsty, knowing when you've eaten enough and not too much, all of that stuff. And the more you work with that and fine tune that, again, you can apply that to like any system in your body. But I wanted to mention this as my example, because one of the ways they treat eating disorders is through embodiment work. Because you have gotten so separated from your body, so energetically separated, you're so used to ignoring the signals of your body. And a lot of this is about control. We don't have control of our bodies in a lot of ways, and that can feel very frightening to people. And so sometimes controlling how you eat or controlling how much you exercise, that can be a way that kind of, it's a trauma coping response. If I can just control this one thing, all these other things that feel out of my control will be less overwhelming to me. And the way we do that, unfortunately, is by abusing ourselves most of the time, ignoring those hunger cues, forcing ourselves to exercise when we don't feel like it or we're injured. I can't tell you how many times I've done that to myself, pointing to my shoulders. Or I hear other people, well, I got to run today, got to work off those calories or whatever. And that's another thing, not listening to your body. It's been life-changing for me to kind of listen to my body and be like, oh, today my body would like some gentle, like Qigong flowing movement. Oh, today I'm feeling a little more vigorous and maybe I'm going to take a vigorous walk, or I'm actually going to do some weightlifting. Like your body will tell you what it needs and when it needs it, if you're listening, if you develop this sense of interoception. So one of the ways they treat people with eating disorders is through embodiment work, through body work, through somatic work, through touch. Am I aware of my shoulder? I'm much more aware of it now that I just put my hand on it. Am I aware of my belly? I'm much more aware of it now that I just put my hand on it. And what embodiment does, it's pretty magical, actually. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get emotional. What embodiment does is it opens the door to love. If you're not in a place, it's hard to love it. And most of us have been raised with adversarial relationships to our bodies from a very young age. Again, I just mentioned one thing. Maybe your parents told you how to eat or how much to eat or what not to eat. Right away, that puts this idea in your mind that you're sort of in a fight with your body, that your body is not your ally. You have to control it. You have to subdue it. You have to tell it what to do. Maybe you were raised to be very active and what is no pain, no gain. We've talked about that on the show all the time. No pain, no gain. So that I'm going to ignore my body telling me that this is too much or this is enough. And the interesting thing about that is that the more you fine tune your interoception, let's say you're a bodybuilder and you're lifting weights and you're like, well, I do have to reach a point of discomfort in order to move forward, which I mean, that's in everything, emotionally, and all of this work we do. You have to reach a point of discomfort for growth, right? But discomfort and pain are not the same thing. And most of us don't have the awareness to know there's a gray area, right? There's a really fine line between discomfort and pain. So if I am very in awareness, and let's say I'm doing bicep curls, I will know when I reach a point where my muscle is fatiguing and I've gotten just to that point of like a little bit of discomfort. Whereas if I'm not paying very close attention, maybe I'm pushing myself and then pretty soon I'm recruiting my neck muscles and I'm not actually serving myself. And then I end up with pain, or then I end up with a strain or a sprain or a tear. It's always interesting to me when I go to the gym, the amount of people who are like, they have their phone and they're like lifting weights, like looking at their phone. And it's like that is the opposite of interoception. Anytime you're using your body, ideally, I mean, we're not perfect, you want to be present in your body. And yeah, maybe working out isn't fun, and that's why people are sort of distracting themselves with other things. I like to listen to music while I'm working out, but I also spend a lot of time really, when I get on a machine, checking in with the part of my body. Okay, if I'm doing leg curls, let's say, I'm really checking in with my hamstrings, and I tend to overdo it with my hamstrings. So I've been on this journey of kind of learning, I'm touching my hamstrings as I'm talking, but on this journey of kind of learning how much is enough to get a little bit of that discomfort and not so much that I end up with what feels like a little bit of a strain for a few days. So embodiment work, somatic work, the work we do on this show, breath work, is embodiment work. Using sound can help bring you into your body. Meditation in general, especially if you're focused on embodiment, we're going to do that today. All of these things are ways to start reconnecting yourself to your body, re-embodying yourself, taking all that energy that's hovering around above the head and outside the body somewhere and bringing it back into the body. Last week we did that great meditation to kind of reignite the solar plexus, and I've been feeling that ever since. I've been feeling much more connected to my belly. And again, for me personally, for years, there was so much pain in my belly that it was not a safe space to be. And that's the thing about this embodiment work. We need to create a safe space. Because who wants to be in a space that's not safe? Your energy doesn't want to be in a space that's not safe. So when your body is chronically triggered, it's chronically in that stress response, in fight, flight, or freeze, in that sympathetic mode, you cannot re-embody from that state. So nervous system regulation, the retraining of the nervous system, the oxytocin breath, there's a reason that I combine all of these different tools with people, because we need to put these things together in order to do this work. So the first thing we do in every meditation is take some deep breaths. I even mention usually we're telling the body that it's safe, because we can't bring energy into a space that doesn't feel safe. So that work comes first. Then we invite our energy in, right? We invite energy in through the top of our head and all the way down through the body and focusing all the way down to the feet. The reason I do that is because most of us are up here above the head somewhere. We've got to bring the energy back into the body. And then I think the last step of embodiment is what I was just kind of getting at, and then I got myself distracted a little bit, is this idea of actually loving our body, of letting go of the adversarial relationship. Again, from an early age, especially if you did not feel safe in your body. If you are a person of color, you probably didn't feel safe in your body. If you are a woman, you probably didn't feel safe in your body. If you are non-binary or trans, you definitely didn't feel safe in your body. And then even when you try to get into the body that feels safe to you interoceptively, then you're not safe externally. So that's where that kind of cultural programming comes in as well. Safety in the body calling the energy back in, and then starting to get some self-love going on. Recognizing that your body is not even just your ally. Your body is your love. You might be living, I'm a spiritual person. I think I'm a spiritual being here having a physical experience, but like I'm having a physical experience. It's why I'm here. And if I want to be effective in this physical realm, I've got to be present in my body. And beyond that, I've got to have a good relationship with my body. I've got to have gratitude for my body, for all the things it does for me, all the ways that, like, when I had my uterus taken out at the end of last year, I had a lot of grief about it. And it was interesting because there was times like it never did what it was meant to do. It could not carry a baby, but man, it sure tried. Over and over and over again, it tried. I could feel it working so hard for me. And so when it was time to let go of it, I had grief around that, and I had gratitude for how hard that part of my body worked for me. It tried so hard, even if it was just not meant for it to happen. Your body works so hard to keep everything running for you. Think about how much your heart beats without you ever even being aware of it. How you breathe with most of the time not being aware of it. I've been having some asthma issues this week. We've got a lot of wind. And as I say that and rub my chest and cough, you sure are aware of things when you start having issues. But think about all the things that run smoothly that we never even think about. So in our meditation today, what we're going to do is make friends with our body. That's the name of today's meditation, make friends with your body. And I'm going to walk you down the inside of the body. And you might want to go to Google and just pull up a basic anatomy picture of your body, human anatomy, and you'll find something and it'll show you kind of where all your organs are, because I'm going to walk you through kind of the organs. And so knowing where they are goes a long way to kind of building this interoceptive ability. So just kidneys kind of to the side and in the back. Your spleen is on the left side. Your liver is on the right, kind of the biggest organ in the belly area. Stomach sits a little bit to the left. The pancreas is kind of behind that in the middle. And then your stomach kind of goes down through the small intestine, which goes all the way through the main part of your belly, and then up into the colon, which kind of comes up the right side, across the top, and then down the left side. And then, of course, we've got our kidneys, which lead down to the bladder, really important for elimination. And then whatever your sex organs are, if you've got a womb space like I do, or you've got a uterus, you've got maybe ovaries, or just that space, that really powerful Dantian repository we worked with a few weeks ago. You know, if you're a man, you've got your testicles, you've got your penis, there's the vaginal opening. So if I mention sex organs, whatever you have, focus on that. I could get really specific, and that's going to take a lot of time. But I am going to walk you through the other thing to think about here. Lungs in your chest, big organs in your chest. Your heart is a little bit to the left in your chest, but then you've also got these really important tubes that start at your mouth and go down. One of them is the trachea. That's your air passage, comes out into the lungs. And then you've got your esophagus where your food goes in and you swallow, goes down into your stomach. So again, for this meditation, it might be helpful to just take a little glimpse at an anatomy chart and have this stuff in mind, because I'm not going to take the time in the meditation necessarily to tell you where things are. I'm just going to direct your attention to them. And you can just kind of put your hands on your belly just generally and direct this awareness to whatever I'm talking about. But the more specific you can be with this work, the better you will start to get this interoceptive feel. So we're going to walk through the body, kind of just bringing some awareness into our organs, especially the inside of our body, and also sending some love and gratitude. And this might be for you a very much like fake it till you make it type of thing. If you're still really struggling with kind of coming to out of that adversarial relationship, you know, maybe there's a word détente, like a peace accord. Maybe just for today, you declare a peace treaty for this meditation. toward your body. And you can fake it till you make it. I send gratitude to my body for how hard it works for me. And even if you're not to the point where you're real, oh, I love you, body. You're so wonderful. You do so much for me. You might not be there yet, and that's okay. If you are, that's great. This is really going to ramp that up. But if this all feels a little bit kind of weird and uncomfortable, it's okay to fake it till you make it. That's kind of what affirmations are sometimes, is sort of like introducing these things to the brain, to the body, bringing it down through the field. So you may need to do this multiple times, lots of times, before you start to really feel the emotion behind this idea of sending love to your body, of making friends with your body. But it will pay dividends, absolutely. And if you're feeling uncomfortable with this, it's probably a sign that it's a good idea to come back and repeat it. So let's meditate together. So for this meditation, you can get in any position that feels good. It might feel nice to lie down for this. We really want to feel safe for this meditation. So maybe you want to get cozy in your bed or wrap yourself in some blankets. If you're sitting up, just make sure that you're comfortable. Make sure that you feel supported. Maybe you put something kind of under your bottom to elevate your hips or behind your lumbar spine. Just giving the sense here to our bodies from the very get-go, we're here to make friends with our body today. So give your body what it's asking for in terms of being in a position that feels good. Do a little bit of gentle movement with the body as we step into our oxytocin breaths. Just maybe very gently kind of moving the head and neck around, maybe moving the hips, doing some little gentle hip rolls. Again, this is a great way, movement is a great way to come into your body, to start being aware. If I move my fingers around, suddenly I remember, oh, I have fingers here. So you can continue with the movement or allow that to relax. And then let's do at least 3 to 5 deep oxytocin breaths. We're going to breathe in through the nose, let the belly float out strongly. We're going to sigh that breath out with an audible ha sound from high to low. Vibrating that vagus nerve, telling the body that it's safe. Creating some love for our body by telling it that it's safe. Again, we want to do at least 3 to 5 of those nice deep oxytocin breaths. Perhaps you've been running around all day up to this point. Perhaps it's been a stressful week or month. The more of those beautiful oxytocin breaths you do, the more oxytocin your body produces. We call it the love hormone. And we want to bring some love for our bodies here today. So throughout this meditation, you might want to go back to that oxytocin breath at any point, just to direct that hormone of love toward whatever area of the body we're working with. We're going to start with our head now. And if you'd like, you can put your hands near or on the area of the body that we're talking about. If that's not accessible to you, just use your intuition, use your awareness. We're going to start with the brain. So bring your awareness to your brain, the inside of your head. Maybe this is the first time you've ever done that. That's okay. If it helps to put your hands on your head, you can do that. We're just checking in. This is just a little check-in, bringing some awareness to each of these organs, and then expressing some love and gratitude for these areas of the body. If it doesn't feel good to you, you can fake it till you make it with these affirmations. If you're feeling still a little bit stuck in an adversarial relationship with your body, just imagine that today you're signing a little temporary peace treaty to bring some love to your body. So just being aware of the brain, getting a sense of maybe how it's feeling in there. Maybe your brain works so hard for you all the time. We ask so much of our brains. So as you're ready, out loud if possible, just repeat this affirmation. I'm so grateful for my brain. It works so hard for me. I love my brain. And maybe you notice a little feeling of shift in your head. Maybe a little bit of tension just released. And if not, that's okay. Just notice as we move through the body here, how your body responds to having some love directed toward it. So now we're going to move into the throat. There's a couple of important things in your throat. Got your esophagus beginning, going down into your stomach. You've got your trachea where the air comes into your lungs. You've got your voice box, your vocal cords. Really powerful area to produce sound. So just bringing some awareness into the throat. How does it feel in your throat? Let go of any judgments. My throat feels a little scratchy today. It feels a little overtaxed. It's been windy and I feel a little bit dry in my throat. That's okay. I'm just going to notice that. And then as you're ready, repeat this affirmation out loud if possible. I'm so grateful for everything in my throat. My throat works so hard for me and I love it. Coming down now into the lungs, these giant organs in our chest that keep us alive through oxygen exchange. You might place your hands on your chest if that feels good. You might notice your hands are starting to heat up as this energy moves. That's a great way to direct some love, is just with the energy coming through your hands. So just notice, how do your lungs feel? It's maybe the first time you've ever asked that question. I have asthma, so I'm pretty aware of my lungs, probably more often than other people, and how hard they work. So just get a sense, how do your lungs feel? And again, let go of any judgments that come up. This might be a great place to take a deep oxytocin breath, sigh that breath out. Really giving the lungs oxygen, filling them all the way up to their capacity, and then sighing that carbon dioxide out, just releasing. And then repeat this affirmation out loud if possible. My lungs are amazing and they work so hard for me. I'm grateful to my lungs and I love them. Moving on to the heart, just a little to the left of your sternum. Get a sense, this is the physical heart. We check in with our energetic heart center a lot, but we don't check in with our physical heart very often. Just getting a sense of how your physical heart feels. It works so hard for you. It just pumps nonstop, day in and day out, with no recognition or gratitude most of the time. So give your heart some love with this energy that maybe is coming through your hands, as well as this affirmation. I am so grateful to my heart for keeping me alive. It works so hard for me. I love my heart. Moving now down into the belly, we're going to start with the stomach, kind of just to the left of center. I think we'll do the stomach and the whole digestive system, just for time's sake here. So your stomach comes through the belly, across the belly, and down into the small intestines, which take up a large part of that kind of center of your belly, and then into the colon, which comes up the right side, across the top of the belly, and then down the left side. This is an entire system that works so hard for you, your stomach and intestines. So maybe place your hands on your belly. Just notice, how does it feel in here? We have a tendency to have some inflammation in our digestive systems. Sometimes we have some slowing down or irritation and speeding up. Just directing a little bit of love at your digestive system here. And then repeat this affirmation. My digestive system works so hard for me. I am so grateful for my digestive system, and I love it. And we're going to move on to kind of the detox organs of the body. Let's start with the liver, to the center and right side, just below your rib cage. It's a big organ. It works really hard to detoxify. So just directing some love at your liver. Processes fat. Processes a lot of medications we take. And then use this affirmation. I'm so grateful to my liver. It works so hard to detoxify my body. I love my liver. And then we're going to lump kind of the gallbladder and the pancreas together. They also work kind of together with the liver to assist in digestion. Especially fat. The gallbladder helps digest fat. The pancreas helps with sugar digestion. So just kind of placing your hands across the center of your belly, directing some love to your pancreas and gallbladder, if you still have a gallbladder. And then repeating this affirmation. My pancreas and gallbladder work so hard for me. I'm so grateful for all they do. I direct love to my pancreas and gallbladder. And then we're going to come to the spleen. That's on the left side, up by your rib cage. This is an organ that helps with the immune system and stores blood. Just directing some love to your spleen here. Probably the first time anyone's ever said that. And then repeat this affirmation. My spleen works so hard for me. I'm grateful to my spleen for all it does. I love my spleen. And this would be a great time to take a nice oxytocin breath. As we direct this loving energy, we also give ourselves the opportunity to release energy that's not serving any of these areas. And that oxytocin breath is a great way to, excuse me. That oxytocin breath is a great way to release any energy that's no longer serving. Coming to the kidneys now, they're kind of toward the back, just under the rib cage. If you can't reach your hands to that area, that's fine. You can come from the front and just direct to the kidneys. They play an important role in detoxification. They also process some medications, really important organs, and they do get taxed. All the salt we eat is really taxing some of the medications we take. So just directing some love at your kidneys and how hard they work for you. And then stating the affirmation. I'm so grateful for my kidneys and all the work they do for me. I love my kidneys. And then the kidneys make the urine that ends up in our bladder. So we'll move down to the bladder here at the bottom of your pelvis. Everybody's probably had a moment where they were very aware of their bladder and what its needs were. It does such a good job of removing waste from our body. So as you're ready, stating the affirmation. I'm so grateful to my bladder. It works so hard for me and I love it. And then bringing your hands back up to around where you thought your kidneys were. Just on top of the kidneys, we have our adrenal glands. Talk about glands that work so hard for us. These are the glands that are involved in our stress hormones, cortisol, and they are working overtime in most of us. So let's really spend a moment here sending some love to your adrenal glands. These parts of your body that just work so hard in our stressful environment. Maybe you even direct some spa-like energy to your adrenal glands. Imagine these two little glands in a mud bath. Maybe they're getting a gentle massage, just having the full spa experience of allowing themselves to relax, and then stating the affirmation. My adrenal glands work overtime for me. I allow them to release some of their work, and I am grateful for all they do. I love my adrenal glands. And then bringing your hands down to your lower pelvis, we're going to direct this love toward our sex organs, whatever you have. Maybe you don't have a uterus or ovaries anymore, but you still have your beautiful vaginal cuff. You still have the hormones that come from your pituitary that stimulate the estrogen, progesterone, the testosterone that are important for all of our bodily functions. Just sending some love into the reproductive organs here. Don't forget all areas. And then as you're ready, stating the affirmation. My reproductive organs work so hard for me. I am grateful to them. I love my sex organs. And just coming still now, just noticing the shift. Maybe you're more aware of the inside of your belly, really bringing your awareness inside your belly here. I'm going to assist you with some Reiki. This area that I sometimes call the cave that can be so scary to look at is really full of all this life-giving energy, these physical organs that keep us alive, that allow us to consume food and use it for energy, that detoxify our blood, that detoxify what we eat and what we consume. These organs that reproduce, that bring us children, that bring us pleasure. These organs that control our stress response. What an amazing body we have. Why not make friends with this beautiful, amazing body of yours? Why not release some of the judgment you feel about your body objectively and recognize how hard it works for you, how well it serves you to carry you through your life, to allow you to be here in this beautiful world, having the experiences of life, the ups and downs of life, the beauty and the tragedy, the sorrow and the joy, the grief and the expansion. None of this would be possible without your physical body. So spending a moment here now to just recognize all of the emotions that are experienced in the body, physiologically in the body, giving yourself a moment to release anything that's being held in this beautiful body, any emotions that are not serving, anything that you're ready to let go of, recognizing that emotions are meant to arise and be experienced and be released. You don't need to hold on to emotion to remember something. You can let go of the emotion and still have the memory. Just spending the last few moments here directing this love into your belly, into your brain and your throat. All of these beautiful parts of your physical body that work together in harmony to keep you healthy. What a gift. Say how say say how say And once more, before we come out of this meditation, maybe placing a hand on your heart, on your chest, a hand on your belly. Send some love into your body. Make friends with your body. Allow your body to become your beloved, your partner who carries you through this life. And state out loud, if possible, I love my body. I appreciate all my body does for me. I am happy to be in my body. I feel at home in my body. I know I am safe in my body. My body loves me, and I love my body. Take 1 or 2 nice deep breaths here at that oxytocin breathing if it feels good. Just releasing anything that's not serving, breathing in that love and light and joy, that connection to your physical body, carrying that with you into the rest of today or this evening, the rest of your week and month. Coming back to this whenever you need to feel reconnected to your body, to feel appreciative for all the work your body does for you. Sat Nam. The truth of your identity is that you are a spiritual being in a physical body, and that these entities are meant to work together for your highest good, for vibrant physical, emotional, and spiritual health. If you're in a space where it's safe to drift off to sleep and you'd like to do so, you can allow yourself to do that now. If you're coming back to the rest of your day or evening, just begin to gently move your body, just coming back fully into this conscious mind, this conscious part of your day or your evening. Taking a few deep breaths as you'd like, and as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a beautiful rest of your day and week, and I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesdays.